I'm that girl who is so grateful to be here with you once again today to tell you and remind you, whoa, what is happening right now is intensive. It is so extraordinary. And I've been really busy working with quite a few people locally who have suddenly abruptly awoken. Ugh. It's an interesting choice, isn't it, to suddenly become fully awake. It's quite endearing because suddenly you're noticing everything around you. And I feel like for my personal choices, I sort of had little nitbits and little taste testers of this information along the way. And then, you know, I'm sort of growing my small journey, little tiny steps up, or should I say along my way. And that was the best that I could cope with and deal with, because it's a lot, isn't it? So anyway, I've been talking to many people recently in my communities who have suddenly just realized they need their sessions fast. And it is really extraordinary to see these incredible local people who are fantastic in every which way. But still, when they have this bigger information, there is still something really big that is still holding them back. And it's very painful for them. So while they've got this massive and heightened, awakened experience, and they are hearing things and they're getting massive downloads and massive messages and you know, really profound spiritual stuff, which is fantastic. It's really pushing the density of the traumas from this lifetime and other lifetimes to come out. And so, you know, people around the world, we're all the same. We feel the same range of emotions. Sure, certain things may trigger us more sensitively than other people, but it's the same. So we have that same commonality, that same language is the range of emotions. And so it's really incredible to meet so many strangers who don't know this work and who don't know me and my work, but just know this work from Dolores Cannon. And so they've read one of her books, or they may have seen something online that suddenly this woman's just talking to them about something that deeply resonates with them and activates them, to the point where they are finding themselves searching online for practitioners and don't even know what they're getting themselves in for, but they just have that burning, burning, burning desire to seek out this information. And of course, it's not surprising when Dolores herself pops into those sessions just to say, "Heidi ho, my friend, all is well. And it's time for you to remember who you are." So fantastic, so fantastic. So it is incredible times. And we're going to see much more challenging experiences for those people to be pushed into that density, to be pushed and triggered into growth. And so we know big things are coming. We know that it is unavoidable. Even we can beg and beg and beg and beg and beg and plead. This isn't the best for us, we promise. We will do better. The teams are saying, no, we know. We know you, we know humanity, we know all, and we know what needs to occur. And so there is so much that I want to say that I actually have been trying to feel, have actually felt quite overwhelmed of what conversation do you want me to start with, because it's just too much. It's so too much. And it's like, I don't even know the most appropriate, best, important things to say to you guys, because we've already discussed all of we've already discussed so much in sessions, and they're just confirming that we're seeing these things play out now. And so many people are really confused about, say, like the disasters in their local areas, or how they will see the shift and all that sort of stuff. And those are really valid questions, but sometimes it's quite hard, isn't it, to know when you're ready to hear it. Many people really want to have these sessions, but they're also really afraid to hear things. So, you know, it's really interesting when people are messaging me saying that they're desperate for a session, they've listened to their sessions, but they can't figure out what's holding them back. And they're afraid to hear something that they may not be ready to hear in sessions. So I just want to remind those people, your subconscious knows exactly what you need to hear. Okay, so you have trust and faith that they know exactly what you need to hear. And it's interesting to ask them, what is your purpose and what is your life mission here and why are you here? And many people are afraid, Joe, what if I'm bad and I have to stay on the old earth? It really seems like it's scary, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see my children going before me or after me. I want everyone to go at the same time. And I think that's, that's a valid wish, isn't it? That is valid. That seems like the most easiest way. But life is not all supposed to be easy, is it? It is supposed to be some challenging, triggering experiences for us to feel into. And it seems like they want us to experience a whole lot of different experiences here now. And given what we are hearing in sessions, we may not even need to be able to, or we may not even be possible to explore it and learn from it and understand it here in the 3D. And so a classic example of that, so you can understand what I'm saying, is when we have our 3D lives and then we go to the afterlife, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you feel comfortable with. I mean, I've had many clients that go onto a ship and they are looking at their afterlife on a big, they're looking at their life review on a big screen, and they get to see all of the experiences. And that's when they learn a lot. So while everyone's sort of trying really hard to learn all these lessons, learn all these experiences, learn all the purposes and the significances of everything, what if it's just not possible to see it all here? What if it's just to experience it here and just do the best we can? To try and learn from those experiences the best we can, learn those lessons the best we can. But in majority of situations, it seems like many people only get to see and learn from those experiences and lessons after the fact, after that lifetime. So we're still learning. So many people have put so much pressure on themselves to know everything this lifetime. That's so cute. We can't. It's just not possible for a third dimensional mindset to know everything. It's not part of the journey. It's not part of the experience. And it's just not possible. I almost feel like you'd have to be back with source to know all. So, what are you seeking? What are you driving? What is the most important things for you? And I know so many people get stuck in small details because they think that's the most significant thing to be able to be the key to solve the riddles of their quest for life. And, it's choices that people are making. And there's no right or wrong, but it feels like I'm getting a lot of pressure from the collectives to remind you all to be able to focus more. It would be an understated statement of me to say they are slightly pressurizing us intensively. They are wanting to get this show on the road. And so you have to experience these things that need to be experienced. So what if you're the person that needs to trigger people? Ugh, isn't it hideous? It is hideous to trigger people. It almost feels like you're not kind or polite to say truth to other people because they're not ready for it. They don't want to hear it. They've shut down everything to not hear the truth. And so what if part of our life contract is to trigger people? It feels horrible. It doesn't feel fun because you can feel their reaction instantly. And you can feel their worry and their struggles and their resistance deeply. And it doesn't feel good, does it? And so anyway, I feel like it gets overwhelming because there's just too much that they want to say, but they want to say all is well. They want to say those people who are staying on the old earth, and it's not a punishment, it's an experience, and everyone will shift. Every single person has to shift. You can't avoid shifting. It is like saying you could live here forever. You can't do it. So this is when you really need to start understanding spirituality and the life cycles and the purposes of life and why, and actually come to terms with the life cycle. Because a lot of spiritual people don't have, they like to hear the words and they like to hear some metaphysical stuff, but when they actually have to realize that they have their own life cycle in the 3D, it's not what they're comfortable with. So anyway, we all are getting exit points, and we can't escape our exit points, right? And so you're going to escape the body. It's unavoidable. You cannot take this physical body anywhere with you. It will be an illusion, isn't it? It seems like it's an illusion to go to, well, those people that are going to the other 3D planet. What do you say about that? It's the same. It's the same. So some people are taking their 3D bodies with them to another 3D planet. That's interesting. I'll have to explore that more. And we have heard that more, but I just thought that was a simulation. But the more we're getting closer, the more information we're getting. And so it's very interesting to figure out more about that. They're saying it's Merkaba bodies, and so you can, when everyone's allowed, you'll shift that way. Okay, so I'm distracting myself now. There's just so much to say. I have so many questions for them to be able to clarify certain things, but then I sort of write these questions and then I think, is this kind of the small details? Because everyone's trying to figure out what's going to happen first. We haven't talked about the Three Gorge Dam in a while. We haven't talked about a whole lot of different countries and what they're going to be experiencing. And, it's not a case of if, it's a case of when. And this is all experiences that we have to hear about and will be a part of. And so how comfortable are you going to be when it's your turn and your country's turn? And so they're wanting to say, what have you noticed when you've gone back and listened to some sessions? What are you focusing on? What are you noticing? Is the consistent information? Is it the laser? Or is it learning about and hearing about mastering old earth? Because even I was confused about those people on the old earth. And in my own session, I hear that I am going to also be here on the old earth timeline, and I feel like it's they're going to classify it after the laser is the official old earth time. So it is interesting, but as they're saying, we're experiencing things that were originally going to just be on the old earth timeline. And so, we're already sort of in the midst of it without having the official big shift. But they're saying that there is so much shifting going on, it's just not being reported. And they're saying, no, it's not wars that is taking big people and shifting off. It is natural deaths and that. Just so much to say, isn't it? And I'm sorry, it doesn't feel like I'm very articulate with directional information, but if you haven't read the Mastering Old Earth book, you don't have to read it when you're on the old earth. It is actually much beneficial for you to understand it here now. And as I've been hearing from people, when they reread it, they read it the first time and it's a lot. And there's so much layers to it. It's just like the sessions. There's so much layers to it. And so see now, if you read it back now, what are you noticing different? What are you noticing about your acceptance of it or your understanding and comprehension of it? as it was, that was a different time. We were supposed to have already shifted by now since that book was written. So many people are like, oh, that's not relevant anymore because, those things didn't occur. And it's like, well, they didn't occur yet. There's still the concepts and the principles of it are still to come. And so I know lots of people are like, well, the Bible isn't old times. It's talking about current times and future times as well. And I say, well, Jesus isn't going to come down and kill all the bad people. He's just not going to do that. It's not in his demeanor to come and kill people. He respects life contracts, and it is not his life contract to come and kill a lot of people who don't pledge or swear or pinky promise their allegiance to him. He's just not that kind of guy. And I'm sorry if so many people still think that he has that demeanor, because that is not his jam at all. It's quite sort of distasteful. It's almost like whoever is trying to say that is trying to control the narrative and make you afraid of him. And that kind of hurts his heart a little bit, because he's like, don't be afraid of me. I'm cool. So he's not going to be a mass murderer at the end of this earth experience, okay? Just in case you're wondering. So that's nice. That's really nice to know. So he says that he will be here for those people who call on him, just like Archangel Michael is like, I'll be here if anyone needs me. I will comfort you. I will support you. I will lend my energy to you to support you through this. So, whomever you want to pray to, whatever version of sweet baby Jesus you want to call upon. You could call upon your higher self or your subconscious or a departed one already, or, whomever you want to support you if you are feeling like you're very overwhelmed and things are starting to shake around you, or, big intensive times are coming. So anyway, we're waiting for lots of experiences to happen, and it takes people to connect with each other to have these experiences. So there is still lots that needs to happen before the bigger shifts can occur, or not. So the collectives are waiting for all these experiences to unfold, to happen, regardless of whether you learn and grow from them here. You have to just experience them to feel how not so fantastic it feels to be controlled or manipulated or disempowered and all that stuff. So it's almost like more people need to awaken to that manipulation, to those control systems, to then experience it. Because if you're oblivious to it, you just go with the flow. It doesn't bother you. In fact, it bothers you that people are trying to tell you that your governments are not there to help you. So there's that. So anyway, I'm just really stuck. I'll have to do some more channeling to be able to figure out what's the most appropriate. But they're on a pause now. They're just waiting for certain people to do certain things to be able to give people those experiences. So, they're waiting on lots of things to unfold. And, as we know, profound things can happen merely in just one day. So, it can change everything. So we are waiting so patiently for everyone to have their own necessary experiences. So how are you processing it? How are you enjoying your time? And how are you balancing yourself? Often people just need to know that something else is coming, and that's, whether you think it's just death or whether you think it's a shift. Okay, that's cool, that's fine. Now I'm just going to focus on my life. And that's a really good thing to do, is just focus on your life, because your life is purposeful, your life is important, and the people that are in your lives are very important too. And so when you're trying to keep seeking metaphysical information or truth or information or whatnot, you're sort of distracting yourselves from your current life. And there's so much information in Dolores Cannon's books for you to explore and to consider. And there's so much real truth out there. It feels like so many people are still confusing themselves with disinformation from what may look like a truther's perspective. And so you're all still waiting for, so much. So whatever you're waiting for, as long as you have balance with it, as long as you have neutrality with it, and, just be prepared to process and accept everything and anything. That's the best, because I feel like some people are so fixated on a certain event that may or may not come, that if something else it does occur, it's going to knock them because they're not prepared for it. And I know lots of people are preppers, emotional preppers, and so they're wanting to know all of the aspects and to calendar it in when they're going to process certain things. And we just can't do that, can we? I mean, you could, but you're preparing for future events and future worries and future problems. And so again, that's taking you away from your daily, and it's quite exhausting. And so there's lots of big density to force people, and you're having lots more triggering experiences with people within your little circles for you to feel into it, to either be assistance to trigger them, or to be triggered to be able to see what's still tender for you. And often it's still childhood stuff, it's still relationship stuff from past, there's still other stuff in your life that's just coming in and needing to be addressed. And we get to choose how long we want to hold on to it for, don't we? And so, you either acknowledge it and notice it and release it, or you just hold on to it. And it just continually stays there. Well, and feel it's still there. Either that resentment or that bitterness or that frustration or that thing you can't forgive or whatever, it's still there. And so whatever is holding you back is part of your inner work to acknowledge and identify and to love and release and heal and let go. And, it's easy to say, but sometimes, we can be so shocked with people's behaviors and agendas, and, that's all lessons. We may not remember why we wanted those lessons from each other. So, it's always best to have the bigger perspective of it, to find your balance and neutral. But then sometimes your teams are dragging you down to feel that and to experience that and to play your part in that, just to have that experience with each other. All purposeful. So much fun, isn't it? And life can be super fun when we really identify what's going on for ourselves and not sort of distract ourselves. And I see so many people distracting themselves right now. And so, for some people, it's just nice that they know something else is happening that's going to make all of this make sense. And they don't even care what it is. But as soon as they're like, Joe, I think something's just going to make sense. It's just going to all unfold as it needs to. And we're just going to see it from the higher perspective as we're just fumbling through. And so I kind of love that approach for people, because, they're not buying into the drama of things. They're not tripping over themselves. They're not getting distracted with it. And they're just focusing on self and how they feel with certain things. And they're just kind of skipping along life quite nicely and being of service the best they can with the people that the universe is presenting to them, to be able to help and love them and support them and guide them. And often it's just by listening to them. And then maybe suggesting just a slight subtle seed of, there is a higher perspective here, and, the world is purposeful and there is significance in all things. So another thing is, lots of people worry that their teams have forgotten about them because they can't connect in. They try to meditate, but they don't see anything or they don't hear anything, and it's really concerning. Your teams haven't forgotten you. It's not possible for them to forget you. And so, trust that they're there. And keep asking for signs if you need to. But if you keep seeing the signs, why do you keep asking for them? It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because when you constantly are focusing on show me signs that you're there, show me signs that you're there, you're not using your free will to then ask for the next thing. If you already know they're there, then why aren't you using them more helpful ways, potentially? Because they can't physically show themselves to you because they're not in this physical dimension. And as we know, it's very, very, very shocking to see them. even the energy right now, if they presented themselves to us right now, the energy is so, and it's such a different frequency, it makes the physical body go into deep fear. And so this is why many people confuse their connections and their contacts because of that deep fear. So it's all significant and purposeful. You know, we hear this 1,000 times, right? But it's true. So we have to just think and try to explore what's that physical purpose, what's that, what is all of it? And that is a better distraction, isn't it, to just keep seeking and asking questions, because when we stop fighting ourselves and stop fighting our intuition and start trusting and having faith with ourselves, that's when we can really step it up. And, you know, this is the thing that I want to empower so many people who are struggling with negative self-talk and with a doubt of self. They have given their trust and their power to so many people who they think should be able to support them. And it never really works out. And this is a lot of harder challenges for many people who wanted to experience that as young children, where they got really a lot of disencouraging support from their parents. And it wasn't to break them, it was supposed to make them stronger and to really know, well, this is not right. I value myself and you're trying to say I'm not valuable. And so it's to build that independence and to build that strength. And, you know, it's such a helpful thing when so many people are still struggling with their choice of parents, to find out the purpose of why you needed a harder childhood, because it was supposed to unbreak you. You're unbreakable. And so if that makes sense. So you're supposed to have you know, really challenging experiences as a childhood, and so then you're not going to be afraid of a complete stranger giving you criticism, because you've already overcome it with people who should have loved you and nurtured you. You've already sort of got that tougher skin. You already know your value, your self-worth, and your love of self. And so you're supposed to build up that confidence. And so, you know, it seems like it's a lot of the themes right now in sessions about the families who were trying to tear down the individuals throughout their younger childhood, and still continue on today, because that person hasn't identified the lessons about self-empowerment. And so when you don't have self-empowerment, you're still having those experiences to have the opportunity to learn from it. But, you know, again, it's all just abstract words until you have to apply it to self. And so lots of clients are being reminded of the lessons of their challenging childhoods, because it literally is that. So, so while we've mastered all our own inner work, fantastic, right? When we're talking to strangers on the street or people who just present themselves to us and we hear about their journey, they may just say one small little statement that gives us a big indication of what they've gone through. And so instead of, oh my God, it's terrible, your parents were horrible, it should be something empowering, like, and amazing that you see that growth and you've strengthened yourself from it. So that may just be something that they will, because they're still hurt from it, they still wanting support and sympathy, and that's fine and valid. But what about empowering them to be able to remind them of that lesson and that experience? Because sometimes when people have survived challenging childhoods, for example, when they are still wanting to tell people about it, they're still wanting that recognition, they're still wanting to be the victims in some regards, even though they were legitimate victims, absolutely they were. It's sort of like they still haven't kind of seen the outcome of those lessons and experiences. And so to praise them for it rather than giving them, so people are constantly connecting in with you and they're seeking certain things. And so what is their agenda? To reach out and tell you their hardships? Because sometimes it's just they're seeking, are they seeking love from you, or attention from you or sympathy from you, and you can give it to them all, but it's just seeing if you're enabling certain people with their lessons that they chose and their experiences that they chose for themselves. And so it's a fine line between supporting them, enabling them, and disempowering them, and keeping them in that lower perspective of just from barely a survivor to then a thriver. And so we're wanting to really encourage people to see how much they've thrived through really challenging situations without dismissing them, without saying, oh, that's nothing, you should hear about my parents, for example. You know, it always seems like when two hurt people are trying to talk to each other and communicate with each other, they're wanting to share their hardship stories. And it's not, they're not even seeing each other, they're trying to like out victimize each other. So, you know, that's really interesting. I don't know why I'm sharing such things with you all, but this is me today, just sending my love and sharing my love with you all, and hoping that you notice when you're empowering yourself, and hoping that you notice when you're empowering others, and when you are just noticing, enjoying 3D. I mean, there's a choice. We can do everything, and the teams are not judging you for how you choose to live your lives, but they are really hoping for people to start stepping up. And I know that they've said this all the time, and people are like, how am I supposed to step up? And it's just having noticing honestly your own thought patterns and your own behaviors and your own routines and your own projections. Are you constantly trying to project out to others to get self-love or to get recognition? What is your motives here? Are you truly trying to empower and love others? And so, you know, we've got to question all our demeanors and what are our motives here. And, you know, it's fascinating times, and it's great when we observe and notice our own behaviors and demeanors, then we will be much more observant to how other people are still reacting and responding to the world. And it's all about emotions, isn't it? And again, we're allowed to have all of the emotions. This is the planet for all of the emotions. And unfortunately, most people focus on all the denser emotions. And it's choices, remember, it's all fine, but it gets boring, doesn't it? It gets very tiresome to just focus on the density and the dramas and all of the stuff that we've already done. We've already experienced it. So now let's start having recognition of potentially the purposes and the lessons and the significances of all these experiences. And that's what I feel really steps up people in their spiritual growth, is starting to have critical thinking of what has happened and why. And when you can maturely understand you're responsible for your life contract and you chose these experiences, and you're still on certain repeats and certain aspects because you haven't identified either with boundaries or self-love or self-trust or whatever. And so you're having these opportunities and you're looping into these experiences over and over again until you start questioning what's the significance here. Ooh, okay, I'll do some more channeling, and I've just had such a fantastic experience in researching into Tupac and some of the other musicians that have come in to hang out and talk and share. And it's so interesting. I have just really appreciated them all once again. And I felt like a lot of in the past with interviews of icons in the music industry, when you hear about their life purposes and how they're wanting to empower humanity, it's always been amazing and so beautiful. And I just really think that they are so, I mean, the whole industry has been sabotaged to some degree, but there have been some really good powerhouse gems that came in and did get their pure information, did get their pure messages out there, and their pure sounds. And I remember someone talking about dead music and someone talking about live music, and we don't sort of know the difference sometimes when we're sort of, you know, not really understanding the power of the music. And so we just have it on in the background, and we're not aware of what the agenda is for that certain music and sound. So it's lots to think about, isn't there? And I just wanted to say that my teams keep playing me certain song statements again and again and again, and it's like little love notes. It's quite sweet. But then when I go listen to the whole song doesn't really apply to me, but just those little, like a little phrase, which is really the message. So when we're trying to see if this whole song is our spiritual message from the universe, chances are it probably isn't. It would just be little segments. And so you'll just have this song on repeat, but it would just be this little tiny statement, which is so beautiful. And it is definitely love messages from home. So, you know, if you're wondering why you just got this little tune in your head, and remember, they don't really speak in English, do they? And so sometimes it could just be the melody or the sound of the song, and that is coded, and it is a message. So, you know, whatever you're noticing that's just popping into your heads and what's reminding you is, it's really significant. So if we could just slow ourselves down and just notice what we're sensing inside. And that is really what we do when we meditate, isn't it? We just slow ourselves down and just sense what is inside of us. And usually when people do that, they feel so overwhelmed, because it's just love messages from home, saying that you're never alone, you're always loved, you're always protected, and all is well. It's the truth. It's just some people don't want to accept it. And some people dismiss that because they don't care about love. They want to find out about the broadcast and if that's happening. And that's our choice too. So all is well, my friends. I love you so much. Please have a blessed day. Enjoy all of your surroundings, and please just slow down things a little bit and just notice what's going on in for you.